I don't believe so. Just to draw attention from original posting, we removed a duplicate item that I think was originally 7.7 on the agenda. And it was duplicated as an item under action rather than on the consent agenda.
So it's been removed?
It's been removed from the consent agenda part of things. So.
Okay, and what did you want to leave the Title IX under action, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Public comment on non-agenda items?
There's no public comment.
Okay, with that, we'll move to the patriotic exercise.
All righty, thankfully I had it on my computer. So August is Women's Equality Month, and so I wanted to give a little history of that. The women's suffrage movement, which started in the mid-1800s, marked the beginning of the fight for women's rights in the U.S. The amendment giving women the right to vote, passed by Congress over 100 years ago, a long time ago, on June 4th, 1919, and ratified on August 19th, 1920, after a long, difficult struggle which lasted 8 decades. In 1923, Alice Paul, one of the leaders of the suffrage movement, and another woman, Crystal Eastman, first introduced the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, to Congress. The proposed amendment was to have guaranteed equal legal rights for all American citizens, regardless of sex. The ERA would have ended legal distinctions between men and women in areas such as employment, property, and divorce. Jumping ahead to 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment, designated to guarantee protection against sexual discrimination for women under the law, passed both houses of Congress and was sent to the individual states for ratification. Groups on both sides of the issue mobilized to lobby the states for and against the passage. The ERA was sent to the state legislatures for ratification on March 22, 1972, with a deadline of March 1979. By 1978, 35 states had approved the amendment, but 38 are needed for ratification. Congress and President Carter extended the deadline to June 30th, 1982, but the ERA still failed to meet the required number of ratifications and was not adopted as a constitutional amendment. In accordance with the traditional ratification process outlined in Article 5 of the Constitution, the Equal Rights Amendment has been reintroduced in every session of Congress since 1982. In 2021, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to remove the time limit on the ERA, but the issue remains unresolved. Some say that this 1972 ERA can no longer be ratified because it no longer exists, while others argue that the amendment process could be started again given its strong public support. 101 years after the ERA was first introduced to Congress, and 52 years after the Equal Rights Amendment passed both houses of Congress, it still remains in limbo.
Thank you. Moving on to number 3, acknowledgements.
Okay, so our general acknowledgements for this month, August, is Children's Eye Health and Safety Month and National Immunization Awareness Month. Both those sound like school readiness support there. And Women's Equality Day is on August 26th. Our retirement acknowledgement, I went this morning and gave her marble apple. So Stephanie Rambold, who has served the district as an instructional assistant and school bus driver since she was hired in 1995, so almost just shy of 30 years. And she served in many capacities during COVID because she's just awesome like that. So I was able to recognize her in front of her peers this morning at the transportation meeting. So. And then finally, some donations. So we have $150,000 that was received from the Mendocino Coast Sports Foundation to be applied to the cost of the Timberwolf Stadium lighting project. We have $250 that was received from the Mendocino Presbyterian Church to support our Giving Care Dando Cuidado program. And $1,100 was received from Winos Crew Motorcycle Club to support art and music programs in the district. So The folks at Wino's Crew also said they're happy to shift, they've kind of shifted how they're doing their fundraising, and they would love to be able to support any organization in the district if they need people to come help support at a fundraiser or something like that, that we can reach out to them and they'd be happy to help. So,
Okay, moving on to number 4, communication. If anyone's received any communication since the last meeting? No? Summer. All right, moving on to number 5, public comment. I'll just read the disclosure. Individuals may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items during public comment and or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting to Renee Holes, administrative assistant. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. The timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you do not complete your comment when the timer rings, you may leave a written comment for the board's information. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. A total of 20 minutes public comment per topic will be allowed. In exceptional circumstances, the board may consider adjusting the amount of time allowed for public comment. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or at a future time. If you require translation service, please contact Renee Holes at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. Regular meetings will be videoed and broadcasted on the FBUSD YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the board may also submit public comments prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fbusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes each, which is approximately 390 words. With that, is there any public comment?
I have received no public comment.
No. Okay, moving on to reports. First report is the General Obligation Bond Fund's construction project update. You're up, sir.
Hi Don, we're ready.
We're ready for you.
He's muted.
Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna work my mic, I don't see the screen that you're looking at. But anyway, it should already short and sweet today. Thank you for having me remotely. It's been a crazy end of the summer. As you can see out there, they've started construction on the new 2K building, as well as got end of that week, as well as got into doing some work in the cafeteria, which turned over back to you guys so you can use it during school. So, FRC is a great contractor to work with, and we're moving forward pretty well. Issue at the start of construction, the soils report that was distributed was a prior soils report. By the time we got to building inspection, it got tweaked a bit. Anyway, so they ended up prepping the site twice, which cost us maybe a week and a half. It's not going to cost us anything. It's a mistake that the architect and the testing agency is going to have to absorb, but it did cost us about a week of redoing work out there. After that, things been running real smooth. Barry's been working with FRC on, Barry had the project in the cafeteria kitchen, and we had flooring in the cafeteria and some other work stuff. That's been smoothly after that first hiccup. Budget-wise, we're just getting into the expenditures. I probably should sit down with Wendy before she disappears when we go for funding for the project, but right now we're just moving along pretty smoothly. I think if you're looking at slides in front of you, you've got a few progress photos out there. This was taken last Wednesday, so if you go out there now, it's a bit further along. I think with that, I'm wide open for questions if anybody has any questions or concerns.
We toured before the meeting, so we have more current pictures in our heads, so it looks great.
Okay, great. Yeah, they have a little lot of dirt for a little building. They have to move it, unfortunately. But it seemed like we got the CGS, California Geological Survey, got a lot more vision on soil preparation for this site, even though it's, what, 50 feet or 30 feet from the other building. The conditions change considerably. So you see stacks of dirt there. But once we get past that, we're doing really well.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, well, thank you for indulging the remote. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank
All right. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, moving on to 6.2, summer maintenance projects.
Right, so, have a lot going on, to fit in one list here. So here at the high school, we replaced the flooring in the student union, so it's that same rubberized flooring that we were walking on in the cafeteria there. Just the ability to maintain that is so much easier because it doesn't have to be stripped by accident and all that kind of thing, so the person hours going into is just much slower in the summertime. It may eventually save us some on our employment also. Placed the flooring in the entrances to the high school gym, so we put in that scrubber floor similar to like the tiles that's here and direction you come in. The idea being less water and dirt makes it out onto the gym floor, then it won't have quite the impact and need to be serviced quite as frequently. But saying that, we did do the refinish on the floors at the both gymnasiums. We did the bleacher service as was required, annual boiler service, all those required pieces. At Redwood, the playground border used to be wood, and now it's plastic pieces that can come out. So if one gets broken, it takes about 10 minutes to change the piece out and put it back. I don't think it'll get broken, but if it does, it's much better than the splintered redwood that we had there before. And we had siding at Alt-Ed that was replaced, new floors, countertops, ovens in the Redwood kitchen, as you got to see. A roof replacement at room 75 at Dana Gray, so that's usable space for our after-school programs. And 106 maintenance tickets, and then deep cleaned all sites. So we did get some new equipment that's hopefully going to make it easier to clean, like the bigger bathrooms. It's the kind where you go and spray it down, let it sit, and then go in and wash it down, and it all goes down the drain, and everything's shiny and pretty, and they can do that in about 10 minutes. So it's really nice that way that during the year, hopefully we can keep them maintained better, because that's something we heard a lot of in feedback. So that was a response from the district, was to make sure we have tools to do this quickly. So.
And Alt-Ed is ready to go?
Yes. Yep. I think it needs to be painted. There's some that's still white, particularly on the office, but it's done and all solid. So.
Okay. Summer school 2024 report.
Okay, not a lot more to report other than we served 248 students in summer school, and our Flockworks served 100 TK to 6th grade students. I think talking to teachers, they really enjoyed their time at summer school, all the way up to even at the high school. They were calling out in their faculty meeting as one of their highlights of their summer, which was pretty cool. I thought that was a neat thing. So I think the program is definitely successful, and I guess we've been doing it long enough now that it's just going to be kind of an ingrained piece, so we'll see how it will grow and change as we move forward.
How does that number compare to the last couple of years? Do you know?
I think it is about the same as we've been the last couple of years for student side of things. 10 or 15 students, give or take. So
And next summer, we don't have all the funding.
we don't have the ESSER funding next year yet, that we've been able to pay the extra boost for the employees. However, we do still have the expanded learning opportunities funding that we will be able to run the program. It's just, we'll have to figure out a way to incentivize folks to want to give up some time and during the summer, so.
Mhm.
All right. Staff evaluations?
And so on that, just to report that, to my knowledge, the staff evaluations have been completed as required. I know you like to make sure that gets done, and so we've been checking in and making sure that everybody got evaluated as was appropriate. I will say, with the exception of Wendy, I did not evaluate her because obvious reasons, so. And then on to superintendent report. There's a better copy of this that's attached to the agenda, if you want to see the work days in more detail. That kind of looks a little mind-boggling on a slide. So I'll be working my 225 days at least. And we'll see from there. I was gonna say, I don't think it's ever just that, but that's what we think. For superintendent's report, I thought first off you'd probably want to know our approximate enrollment, as that seems to keep changing day to day. So this was as of 8 o'clock this morning. At Redwood we have 344 students. Notably there we currently have 52 students enrolled for TK. And so we'll see how that holds. We have a couple, we're talking to the teachers and letting them know we'll make a decision within a few days of school starting if we need to add a third grade classroom on, or third TK classroom on, then we can make some shifts, and we've got a plan figured out to make that work if that's necessary. If not, we can, if we hang around 48, and traditionally we have had kids who sign up and don't come, or sign up, get the first day or two in the classroom, and the parents go, maybe not this year, we'll wait until next year, that kind of thing. So that's been the pattern the last few years, and so we're anticipating being that close to the number that we may end up holding at just 2 classes. At Dana Gray we have 349, middle school 385, and then you get to the high school and we jump all the way up to 580 with those 2 really big classes that we have. So that is, even with the 4th grade level, that's still a huge number at the high school. Alted, we have 35 students, and district-wide we're sitting at 1693. For technology, just wanted to give you an update that we did use some of those ESSER funds to upgrade some of the infrastructure throughout the district. So pretty much all the sites have, the underpinning has been updated except for Redwood and the district office, because you saw the construction of that. They couldn't even access the room that most of the switches and stuff were in, because it was being torn apart and then put back together. So they'll get that as soon as that kind of settles down enough to where they can get in there and do it. And then they'll also update all of the access points, so the wireless access points in each of the classrooms in the coming weeks. They have new ones to go in that'll replace the ones that we've had here that are have been serving well for a while, but are ready to be changed out. Let's see, and we also will have Chromebooks coming in. Those, or they may already be in, but they will filter those out to students as they need. Our Chromebooks weren't dying yet, but they're on the precipice of that, so we're ready to get that replacement going. For professional development this summer, we had a lot, and I'm sure I've missed something on this list. I was racking my brain going, I feel like I've left something off here, but maybe not. We'll see. We had Universal Design for Learning, so we had our admin attend last week at the UDL Con, so it was an international thing. We got to meet with folks. I think they said there were 17 countries represented and like 43 states or something. So it was quite the representation there. I got to run into people from Oklahoma and Maine and gosh, a few other places. Speak with some folks from Sierra Leone. So it was a neat conference that way. We had some Redwood teachers attend the UDL conference that was here held by our SELPA on Monday and Tuesday. I was actually asked to come speak at that conference as well. So I was up on a panel on Tuesday speaking to the 91 attendees that are primarily from Mendocino County who were there, talking to them about UDL and why it's a great thing for us to move forward with and what our plans are here in Fort Bragg. We had AVID, so we had our folks from Dana Gray, the middle school and the high school attend AVID training. So we're super excited to see some of those strategies going into place at Dana Gray this year as an expansion. The multi-tiered systems of support, or the MTSS conference, we had 11 people or 12 people attend.
MTSS was 14.
Oh, 14. So great number. Fortunately, we got a grant from MCOE that covered, I think, 11 of those people straight out. So took care of all of those costs. Big picture learning, we had staff from Alted who attended a couple of different places for that. And then from middle school, we had them attended the project-based learning at the Buck Institute. So some attended year 2 who attended last year, and some attended year 1 who were just dipping their toe in the water. So the lovely part when I look at that list is all of those things work hand in hand. So they're not, while they have a lot of different acronyms up there, the base strategies around all of them are all in line with where the direction that we've set. So it's not something that's way out here in left field. It's all around the same core of instruction there. On human resources, so we're still working on solutions for the openings we have. We think we have a solution for middle school math. I sent you some additional details for that, but where we can ensure that students have instruction from qualified staff this year, so that we're not having substitutes try to fill in for something that's such a critical subject for students. Unfortunately, the teacher that we had hired in the spring for the newcomer academy backed out just last week, and we have not been able to find a replacement yet. But I'm still advertising and looking. Got a new recruitment service that I'm working with that I'm hoping I can reach out to a couple of people that I saw on there who had some very promising resumes for this type of work. Because that's a super important position, and I'm pretty bummed that we didn't get the opportunity to fill that. So we also still have an opening for our Spanish that's split between the middle school and the high school. They have figured out ways to absorb in the schedule. Just our Spanish offering at the middle school is going to be a little less than what it has been in the past. There'll still be, actually, will it be an opportunity? I don't know if we were trying to convince somebody to teach at least a section of Spanish there. I'm not sure if we got that yet. I haven't looked at the master schedule today, so it's constantly in flux. And then, as I said, we're in this trial period for this new recruiting platform, and the cool part about this one is most of the people on there seem to be people who are interested in education but don't really have a clue how to get their foot in the door into education, because they're switching from some other industry around. So could be some interesting folks who are out there and could be good hires that way. So we'll continue to see whether that's going to be fruitful or not. We have the 24-25 calendar. We provided you copies. We didn't put it on as a review item tonight, but take a look at it. As you,
It's 25-26.
25-26, yeah, sorry.
Perfect.
I was writing this at
Yeah.
6 o'clock yesterday or something.
You
I don't
this
know.
is right.
Yeah, the calendar's right. Yeah, my slide's just not. So thank you for correcting that. We'll bring it back in for review and comment in September, but it gives you kind of an idea of where breaks fall and all of that sort of thing, with sticking pretty closely to what we had approved for this year.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yes.
So a couple of things I see a couple days off in September. it seems like there's a week longer in this calendar than normal,
Okay,
so just to look at.
Yeah.
Just stuff to look at.
thank you.
Yep.
I haven't really had too many moments to put eyes on this, so.
Well, Wendy and Jamie looked at it earlier.
Well, we just looked at the holidays.
Oh.
I was just actually noticing that 2 days in September too, that I wondered what they were.
Yep.
They might have just got highlighted, just one click.
Yep,
Yeah.
Excel's fun that way.
It's, well, yeah, and it doesn't take much to,
Yep. So we'll
take
we'll
another
review that. That's why we
Yeah.
bring it a few times because
That's
it's
why
such
it's
an
a
important
draft.
document.
exactly, no, exactly.
Thank you.
So I do have, oh, I see, never mind,
else
it's
do you
on there.
Bummer, the November 1 day, they kept that going, but since it falls on a Saturday.
Well, and because we actually have that in as a contracted day, it would either be, and we can talk to the union about this, would either be to add it before school or to put it on, in this calendar are suggesting November 3rd,
November 3rd, yeah.
so.
That makes sense, though. I mean, that's
All of these next questions.
It might, and we can ask some opinions about that too, just not have Halloween in the classroom at all. You know, that would make our PD kind of interesting if it says that becomes West. All in all though, the broad picture is, I think that, we're ready for treats coming. We're excited. I got around to speak to chief staff at some point that day, and saw some really great things happening in each of the places. And everybody well rested, and I got a good chance to recharge the batteries and be ready for everything that's coming next week. So I'm super excited to start the year, and I think it's going to be a really great year.
Do you know how many new staff we have? I mean, altogether, or 26? Service.
I think the largest impacted site right now is probably the Hopkins, which is unusual for them. They have 7 new staff members. So that was pretty impactful, and I think two in the English department.
Yeah, so about 20.
About 20 total, yes. Who are new or have moved into
Okay,
new positions from being on leave or something like that, so.
gotcha. So not brand new, so not 20
There's-
brand new.
There's probably 3 or 4 who aren't brand new to the
Okay.
district, so.
Nice.
So what's the alternative for the newcomer academy?
So right now, those students will move into English and development classes. It's not ideal, but at least they're receiving some of that English language development service. I really need to take some time tomorrow to look at that recruiting service though, because if we can make it happen, we figured out the scheduling and we figured all those pieces out with it as a thing, so it's not hard to revert back and get them into a schedule that works for them. So, that's the hope, is that we can get somebody in, as we did hire our last English teacher on Tuesday and got him here today, so that's I think if we, having that quick of a response out of it, that maybe we could turn it around, because it's a super important position, and I've asked all of our principals to really focus in on our English learners this year to make sure that we're building strategies and ability for everybody in our buildings to support those students.
Okay, great. Moving on to item 8, public hearing. Alternative education schedule waiver renewal request. What? Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. I skipped consent calendar. My goodness gracious. Okay, so back up to item number 7, consent calendar.
Number 1, warrants. Number 2, minutes. Number 3, personnel reports. 4, contracts. 5, Williams quarterly report, fourth quarter, 23-24. California Department of Education, Agriculture, Career and Technical Education Incentive Grant. And we're pulled 7, and we're consolidated application for 24-25. the grant? I know Ms. Lena's here. Did it come?
It did get posted to,
It's attached. It's already.
it did not get attached to the
Wanna go
campaign.
ahead and-
I had the privilege of applying for the Irish Treasure Career Technical Education Incentive Grant this year for the Fort Bragg High and middle school. We have 4 ACT teachers on record: Daniela Oliva, Rebecca Duran, Robert Baser, and Mary Iverson. There are 3 parts to the application. Part A, we have to have properly credentialed teachers, professional development, a course sequence pathways, grading for FFA, SAE, which is also done through their AET accounts, provide alternative credits, dual enrollment, Future Farmers of America, the Constitution and bylaws, and Future Farmers of America chapter meetings, agendas, as well as our Agriculture Advisory Committee. For Part A, depending on the number of teachers, which would give us the ratio of students, as well as class sizes, and the variety of pathways that we offer, we were able to allocate $16,160 for Part A. For Part B, which is our AET database, so AET is a website that all students have an account for, and this is where they have to journal their record keeping for their SAE work experience projects, as well as any leadership conferences they attend, public speaking contests they compete in, and their monthly chapter meetings. All of that goes into their AET accounts, and it helps us keep data of how involved our members are. And for that part, we allocate for $9,750. For Part C, it has to do with professional development, ensuring that our teachers have an extended contract, and that we have an advisory committee from the community that supports us to keep our program moving forward. So we have industry sectors at the committees to make sure that we're making connections from high school to outside of high school. And for that part, we earned $5,000, and all of the 3 parts put together, we submitted the grant we're asking for $30,910, and the district will need to match the allocated amount. And we will know how much we receive from the state, hopefully by October. Any questions? Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or items?
The minutes might need to be pulled, or I don't know if it's appropriate just to have that. It says that under 12.2 for the contract for the superintendent, it says that the medical exam is not required, and not requiring an annual exam, a medical exam. So I thought that wasn't what was in the contract. It says that it is happening. This doesn't have a date certain. So I don't know if we should pull it or just have that revision. It'd probably be easier to pull just because we can't really, it's not usually a motion for so many items. So I'll pull those. But I'll move to approve the consent items on the agenda, less the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
So when, I'm just confused, because I thought Joe said we were gonna be told when that was added. Was that added after Tuesday? Or when did you, I don't even know what day this
The minutes?
No, the grant.
The grant was added.
Okay, so,
It's been on the agenda, the attachment.
right, but I don't like approving things that I haven't read. So, I heard you say this has already gone somewhere, so it's already been submitted.
Has this grant application been submitted? Yes, that's why it's
So- Right, it still would have been nice to have reviewed it, so let's try not to get that out. I don't know where, anyway, I would like to see it before it gets recorded, anything, not just this, but.
Because it said, was it submitted in May? Is that date on the plus or minus? Okay, so the date on the report is May, okay, July 15, okay.
I just don't want to get in the habit.
So is it that, do you have that available to fill out sooner than that? Or is it that you get it after we're out of school and then you have to get it submitted by
It was
the
my first year this year, so ideally I would like it done before June.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in afterwards.
So moving forward, maybe we can see it in June, before you get submitted. All right, moving on to now, number 8, public hearing for alternative education schedule waiver removal request.
I know.
Trying to follow the conversation and make sure how you put whatever corrections you.
So we'll open the public hearing at 6:37.
Okay, so our alternative education site has to file a waiver with the state. That has been approved, of course, this would be a renewal request, because we locate our programs, our community days program now, our continuing high school program, both of our community days programs, continuation high, all on the same campuses. And the law says, we're not supposed to do that, but it's not a practice throughout the state, so it's, generally, it's a procedural thing. I'm not sure why they changed the law, because when you have that with the CCE or the state board agendas, there are lots of these waiver requests throughout the year. My understanding is this waiver request would be good for 2 years. So we have to keep going once you get to the renewal part. Or lengthen that match. It has been approved by both our units as required. The narrative that we were able to read over is a little choppy just because it's responding to specific needs as you move through the application. So it's not a smooth narrative that they limit the number of characters that you can put in particular spaces.
The waiver request has a public hearing date of June 20th.
We will change that, yes, before it gets into so this is the narrative part too. That was the initial target date and then through everything that into whatever that.
Questions?
No, I'm just wondering if it's just for public purposes why you have to do it, not so much. Kind of
It's
a-
really the public hearing part of things and, it's.
Yeah. But you don't think we'll have to do it next year? Because we've done it every year, it seems like, since it's happened.
So we'll actually be able to go to 2026 with this.
Because we've done it two years in a row. Gotcha.
Go out, 2 years of that process.
Is there any public comment?
There's no.
Go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:39. Okay. Moving on to 9.1, 2024-25 transportation.
All right, so I'm excited to bring this plan back to you, approve this in March. And there's there's only one significant change in this, and that is that we're adding in-town bus services. So this is not adding any costs to the district, because we're not adding any time on for employees. We may have tiny bit of fuel from the extra stops or electricity from our breaks. But other than that, it should hopefully, I would think, balance out, because we have had some students who, parents are just, I can't get them kids to school training because we don't have our work, that kind of thing. So the stops will happen east, west streets through town. Buses are already largely traveling. Generally, they'll stop in the middle of a block for each end of the block. So students may have to walk most of the block and a half if they walk Water Street in the direction. So it's not door-to-door transportation, but it's at least free enough. It's not just two stops, north, south, and down. And we have those routes, and we get those out parents along with announcing things parents first, so they can know what to expect as far as
That's a good idea. Get the kids to school. Get them in the habit as early as possible. Yeah.
Any other questions? Public comment?
There is no public.
Entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 2024-25 transportation plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Bachman?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider? Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock? Motion carries.
Item 9.2, classified job description for library technician.
So this was a job description that was discussed with CSEA over a year ago, and has been missed approval. We actually have folks functioning as a job description or sometime they dated it from, I think, previous update and then almost 20 years ago. So the job of the library technician just changed quite a bit in that time here. So it was time, it was due for an update, and it's not been controversial, and it's had any concerns.
And this is at each site. There's 4 librarians that this affects. And the days annual is the same. That hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed.
Kind of an odd number. I wonder how that came forth. 197.
We had some, and then if they were anywhere near Juneteenth, that added, took away a day, and so
Gotcha.
numbers got a little, you'll see that as you go filter through different job descriptions, or as we bring over that days got a little weird, might have started off as a certain, like 2% or something, and then different means restriction. Just comes down or not working, and some, to be in 11 position, they gave her July.
Gotcha. So they basically have them on the
Days have to be
Okay.
So what's the district process for updating job description in general?
So in general, we meet with the unit that job description sits with and talk about whatever changes need to be done. Sometimes the district initiates it because we look at the job description and we go, this is nothing like what the job has become as time has moved on. Sometimes it's at the request of the unit to take a look at it. So we negotiate that back and forth. I usually run it then by whomever the direct supervisor is for that position, just to make sure that looks accurate. Once we come to an agreement, then I bring it to you and it gets approved or sent back to me for further consideration. So.
Any other questions?
No.
Any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 9.2, classified job description, library technician.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Item 9.3, teacher consent form.
All right, so we have a teacher, Tracy Salzer, who is will be teaching humanities through the local assignment option. So she has a teaching credential in another area, but has enough units to be able to teach this as well through this. So,
Okay, any questions? Any public comment?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the teacher consent form.
Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Sorry. Trustee Babcock? Yes. Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
All right, item 9.4, Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant Plan Update.
right. So you had approved this plan last year, I believe in October, if I remember correctly. And so we've just updated it. At the time, we weren't exactly sure how much the state was going to eventually allocate. We've got that number in here. And then we've also moved things around as the districts need. You know, if we thought we were going to spend something in one place and didn't last year, then we're able to kind of reflect that in the plan. The things that we did add on were the social emotional learning curriculum, so the Wayfinder. We added student academic assessment and reporting. So this is software like iReady, Dibbles, software that we were already using, but it just adds a funding source for that. That would, because we were using the ESSER funding for that. And then add some opportunities for staff and administrative professional development, or some substitute coverage if we need to make those things work. Just giving us something that's not directly targeted towards any one thing. It's kind of a more general pot that fits within the learning recovery emergencies.
The technology replacement, what is that? To replace all Chromebooks?
That's for the Chromebooks, yeah. So we put some in from this year for the Chromebooks that we have. Did we end up having to use much of this?
Which? Oh, probably some,
Yeah, a little bit for the Chromebooks this year, and then,
because it was in the plan, so.
yeah. And we figure that we've got 27, 28 is when it all has to be expended by the end of that year, so we put some there because, you know, Chromebooks, they have a shorter lifespan, and so as we hit the end of life on that, we have some money built in, and as Wendy said, we also are building a fund up.
Right, so I mean, since Chromebooks are in the plan, we could potentially use some of that money to help fund the reserve that we talked about last month, the technology replacement reserve.
So does that account for the disposal of the ones that are obsolete or dead? How does, or does that come in another line item?
Yes,
Do you-
when we have to pay for it, but generally, I don't know that we'll have to pay. I think we've
Okay.
got a couple of different plans that may work out.
Okay.
And the folks I was talking to from Sierra Leone, they could really use something, so I'm trying to see if we can't get like a Rotary project where we can put some very specific things that don't need internet access on there and make that into a service project for some kids to just get that loaded on, send them down there. Like, they still have life left, it's just the security is really what
Oh,
keeps them
gotcha.
from us
Being
being
useful.
able to continue to use
Ah.
them. So,
Oh,
or they could also be used at home. So we
Right.
can
Oh,
leave
I
them
see
out
what you're
for our
saying.
kids.
Just take these.
Yes, take these and we don't want
I
to see
see.
the back
Yeah,
things.
because I know disposal can be almost more expensive than an item sometimes.
you get a diploma and a Chromebook.
I'm glad my kids are graduated. I don't need more.
And then the Thrive Counseling, is that resource that you used?
Yes.
How much it's used?
I think last year we used about what we had allocated
Yeah.
here in addition to what we had in,
It was all over the place because we were using up the last bits of everything, so I'm still actually moving some of it around to clean up the resources at the end of the year, so.
as well as there's also some separate funding that you'll see Thrive in our special education that provides more direct services into our TSP classrooms and support there.
The dual immersion bilingual program, so for this fiscal year, there isn't a dual program, but
There
we're
is
gonna,
not, but we've got some ability to take folks and travel and see the programs and buy materials and build out using that, the funding there, so.
All right, any other questions? Is there public comment?
There is none.
I move to approve the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant Plan update.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call please.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right. Item 9.5, arts, music, and instructional materials block grant plan update.
All right. And so, very much the same thing with this, just moving the amounts around just a little bit to reflect some of what our changing needs are. For example, the first line item with the arts integration project, we had approved $120,000 for it last year. Only $60,000 was used last year.
Mm.
So the other $60,000 will carry it this year to continue at Dana Gray for that. And they're aware that that's a limited time resource, so it's not going to be an ongoing program of any sort. And then also moving around some of the supplies, or some of the money that we had in place. Our arts and art, drama, and band programs did not use the allocations that we had last year, so we kind of just moved them out another year, so they have them available. And our science curriculum materials, obviously we just approved those, so you'll see that come across. And what else did we move? Was the, in the classroom innovation grants, we used about $40,000 for those grants for the folks who applied. So now I'm getting some requests around maybe some larger grants that may have an impact on more kids, or a bigger program, specifically like Anchor is looking to buy some equipment that'll support some of what they're doing and that sort of thing. So we'll bring that forward and go through a similar process if there's money left in that area.
And this is the grant that was voted by the people, and you have to have, no, this isn't that
That's
one.
Prop 28. That's
So
the
this
problem
is-
with the name of the.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I don't think
Close.
this meets, because how are we, this isn't supplanting,
Yeah.
you know, the whole,
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
wait a minute,
Right.
I don't know if we're gonna meet this,
So
so,
this-
okay.
This is the block grant that was approved in last year's budget, or was it 2 years ago's budget at this point?
Yeah.
That had this name, but you could really use it on pretty much anything
Anything,
that supported the
even
instruction.
your purrs and stirs or whatever. Okay, gotcha. So I was thinking, oh gosh, this doesn't look good.
Yes.
It looks good, but it's not gonna meet the requirements
Right, and
of,
putting the name on
prop-
it, I'm always like, okay, well, we do have some arts and music and instructional materials.
but it's
and some
curriculum,
other
yeah.
things.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 5, arts, music, and instructional materials block grant plan update.
And a second.
I'll second.
Roll call please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Item 9.6, expanded learning opportunities program plan updated for 2024-25 school year.
Right, so I just updated the plan to make sure to include some of the things that we've been doing beyond the base program that has to be offered. And most of that is when we provide transportation, that's using, we used ELOP funds to buy those vehicles. And so we're saying if we provide the base program, then we can use those funds to support sports programs or other extracurricular programs as they come. I left it a little vague so that it fits. We may indeed have a federal program monitoring on this. We're not sure. I've heard from the county office that they say, yes, this program will be included. From the state, they said it was assets only, so I'm waiting to get some protocols in front of me and see what we'll actually have, but that won't be until June, so we'll have plenty of time to make sure everything's in line with the protocol. Just the timing in June, I'm kind of like, really, that's gonna be the last week of school that you're gonna come in and do program monitoring. This is gonna be so much fun.
Meaning that there'll be a real person coming and inspecting and looking at the
Probably
line
not.
items?
It's
Probably
probably
not, 'cause
gonna
that
be-
sounds like,
It's usually there's a portal that you upload
Yes.
things and you,
It's less-
It's a back and forth
phone
over
calls
Zoom and.
gotcha.
But they have a date, it's basically the deadline. But of course, that still means that it's gonna be May when we're doing everything else that we're uploading and getting all these pieces together. So the earlier
Gotcha.
in the year that we can just have them in the right place and have the right documents in place per their protocols, then we'll do that and knock it out of the park and And there's nobody I can call because this is really well, assets, yes, but if it's truly an ELOP, this is the first time they're doing federal program monitoring on ELOP, so.
So there's got to be other districts in our county that maybe have been through that, or it's all on doing it at the same time?
Right now, I'm not sure. They haven't released all the lists of who they're doing the federal
Gotcha.
program monitoring.
Because you could maybe
Um,
network.
Right. I'll certainly ask the folks at the county office if there are others that we can put our heads together and make sure we've got documents that.
Yeah, are in
everything
line.
that-
So the sample program schedule, is it as technical as the after-school, like kudos, where you have to have the documentation of in and out? I mean, is that going to be an issue? Because in the beginning, we were really concerned about 9-hour days, that they would be met.
Yes, so as long as we're offering them, the students don't have to
Okay.
take part.
Is
It's
anyone
been-
really staying 9 hours?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a
Well, I
long
mean, we
day.
have some
Probably,
students
yeah.
who do, But it ends up being a handful. I know certainly at Redwood, because they're right next to my office, I get to see, and by the end of the day, there's maybe 2 kids.
And they've
If
been
I'm
there for
leaving at,
9 hours and 35
between
minutes?
5:30 and 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So they've been there a long
Yep.
day.
Okay.
But for the most part, yeah, most of our kids are gone by 5 o'clock, I would say,
Mhm.
just because, especially the littles, they're kind of done by that point. So,
Right. Overstimulated.
The
Yep.
adults are too.
Yes,
Yeah.
so,
So that won't, you won't be uploading attendance then? That probably won't be a requirement?
no, it probably will, but we've
Okay.
got all that in Aries.
Okay,
and-
gotcha.
and they've worked well
Oh.
with us. We've got
Awesome.
structures built for all that stuff, so.
So it'll be
again,
easy? Okay.
I'm not at all concerned because we've run such a great ACEs and assets program for so many years. And there's so many structures that were already in place for that. We've just carried all those into this program.
Okay.
So I'm
Not
not really
worried.
sweating
Okay,
this too much
very
at
good.
all, so.
Just jumping through the hoops.
Any other questions? Public comment?
There is none.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program Plan Update for 24-25 school year.
For a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock. Trustee Munoz.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Item 9.7, Resolution 24-12, Proposition 2, kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond act of 2024.
That is a
That's
mouthful.
Didn't write it.
So the Prop 2 will be on the ballot. This resolution just basically states what our need is as a district, around $28 million in facilities, and that's probably being pretty conservative on that. That's really just looking at the current projects that we have out there that are straight bond funded. Basically, what this will do is it feeds this go back to CSBA and to AXA, who will then advocate for this to get passed. They'll use their political sides of things to be able to make sure that we get some bond money. We are in a good spot with this because we have submitted the application for when we built our preschool, and that would be part of what they would fund for this because, as you remember, they've been just kicking that can down the road each time the budgets come up. They've moved that. It was only $500 million that they had set aside, but they keep moving that down the road rather than just funding and moving forward. So hopefully, if this does pass, and then we will be in a good position to have that and maybe be eligible for additional applications for the current projects that we have going.
So that was my question, because it sounds like you have to show public support in order to get the state to match if you're in line. So we can use past bond, because I was thinking our community's bonded out, like we can't do a new bond. So we can go back in time. And then they were saying the other negative, which it may not pass, and maybe I'm misreading this, is that the wealthy communities will have more community money, so they'll get more money. So they're hoping to restructure that. So hopefully that's addressed, that it's more equitable than if those that bring more match, like the poor, districts will have less money to come forth, so they'll get less money. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, no, they They have figured out a tiered structure where so much of it has to be rural and so much of it
Good.
has to go in these different directions. I don't know if it addresses every single one of
Yeah,
the
but
concerns,
it's better
but
than the
it's-
matching part.
yeah. So that's why they
Okay.
created the act that put this on there, is very specific about that, so there's a lot of language. Again, I don't know if it's 100% equitable, but it's certainly better than some of
It's
the
improved.
past measures have been, where by the time it filters up to like Mendocino County, we get nothing,
Mhm.
essentially, because there's big districts that could absorb.
Well,
this
they have a
entire amount.
position this is their job,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
How important is the $28 million number?
I think for us, it's being honest about where we are. I mean, I think if we listed every single facility need we had, it might be more than that amount, but this is something we can quantify and we can say we are currently facing that need between the two projects that we, the current TK project and then the anticipated project over here for Alta Ed.
Mm.
So what if can we include stuff like track, fields and things like that, or is this not really the place?
I don't really think that's the intent of
Jim.
this bond, is more about just replacing the core facilities and the really basic needs, leaking roofs and things like that. That's sort of where they're going with it, so I don't want to
Aging schools.
overstate.
So it would look bad if we had asked for 50 million.
I think so. I would have a hard time justifying all of that, because we do a pretty good job of keeping our schools repaired, so the board has supported that, so.
Just don't want to lose out on any possible opportunity.
No, and this isn't binding in any way. If we, if we get in line and we're like, no, we did find $50 million of need, then great, do it. But I don't know if that would be funded in any way, so.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
There is none.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 24-12, Proposition 2. We'll leave it at that.
No, no. I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Schneider.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
9.8, MOU agreement with Flockworks for arts integration at Dana Gray Elementary.
So, as we approved the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant plan update, that included the funding for this to happen this year with our Dana Gray students. The reason Dana Gray was chosen is it was put out to both Dana Gray and to Redwood, and Dana Gray said yes, and Redwood said not at this time. So that's
Made it easy.
Yep, that made it easy as we move forward. It is very sad that this was originally the brainchild of Joanna Wigington, who has since passed away. So it's sort of with mixed emotions around this for sure, but I think it's a very good thing. And the focus this year shifts a little bit with because we do have art instruction, that it's not. The arts integration is really going to be heavily pushed, so that it's almost co-teaching and figuring out ways that they can build art into the academic day to demonstrate knowledge. So it's really going back to the UBL and some of the other pieces, really expanding the ways that students can respond and show their voice and choice in their learning.
So that's something that can carry forward year after year then, once the
Yes.
teachers have incorporated that.
Yes, once
That's
they
great.
have that support. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you know why Redwood said no?
I think it was just too many things going on. So, and they were still open to having Flockworks come in and do the art lessons, but as far as the arts integration piece, they felt like they just weren't there, ready for it yet. So.
All right, any other questions? Any public comment?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 8, MOU agreement with Flockworks for arts integration at Dana Gray Elementary.
No, I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Munoz,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and the motion carries.
All right, item 9.9, MOU agreement with Northwest Opportunities Head Start Child Development Program.
All right, so we have an MOU for the Head Start program that's on the corner of Chestnut and Lincoln. It has not been updated for 10 years, but it's a 10-year MOU. So we're still in compliance, but it's time to do that. Of course, within 10 years, there's a lot of legal language that ends up going in. So we went from like a 2-page to a 6-page MOU. But the relationship's generally pretty good. They take care of their building and their space very well. We worked out, there was a little
Utilities.
misunderstanding that somehow the district was paying for their water.
Right,
That's
utilities.
been addressed, so
Good.
their utilities are completely independent of the district, and they're taking care of that. And they did reimburse us for any that we paid out of last year. We couldn't figure out how to go back and do arrears because it was just gonna be hard parsing that out. But so the agreement's really just, after running it through our legal department, are some of the standard pieces that they just recommended be in there to protect both parties and as we move through this, and make sure that there are the opportunities moving forward. I know that it does read about placing buildings, but it's just that the building that's there is a portable, it's obviously already
Right.
placed. But if for some reason we decide to end this agreement, that any alterations do become the property of the district unless we ask them to remove them.
Looks pretty standard. But there's an exhibit missing, so the site plan is not attached. So I'm assuming that'll get put on there.
Yep.
Exhibits always get missed.
Sorry.
It's probably from the legal office that happens.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the MOU with NCO.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, item 9.10, Title IX Special Packet Updates for Board Policies. I will just note that normally we do see these first under information and discussion. This packet specifically was put into action, and Joe can explain more, that just they're federally required and there's nothing we can really do about it. But should the board want these to be moved to information discussion and approved at a future meeting, we can do that as well.
So yes, as Scott said, if you would like more time around this, that's not a concern at all. Just understanding that it doesn't really matter. We will still have to be held accountable to these standards as of August 1st. So
You said they're federally mandated.
they're
so
federally
Right.
mandated.
We don't have
And the
choices.
federal Title IX has returned back to what it was last proposed in the Obama administration. Then there were changes whenever we had the Trump administration that loosened the laws a little bit around Title IX, and now they've pretty much gone back to those same so
Definitions.
It's going back to where we've already been before. So I think many of the policies reflect a lot of that.
Well, and what I had read on it is that our state isn't under an injunction, so they recommend, the legal field recommends that you approve it unless you have a state that's, has an injunction stating that needs to be. But at that same time, you need to hire a lawyer to analyze like which ones you push through, because I don't know how much paperwork documentation had to change. It's just definitions have changed. So I don't know that any of our forms for complaint, I mean, I don't think it would be an issue. That they made it sound like it was laborious for some districts, which I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
On the packets and forms and disclosures. But that was what I read about it, that you just push forward.
And the only thing I thought of reading this was that there's there's mention of training, and so is that something Keenan? Okay.
Yeah, and everybody's taken the
I
Title
did-
IX. If you haven't
yep.
done your Keenans yet, you will see a Title
Yeah, I was gonna
IX
say,
on
I
there,
did it
so-
last night.
It
That
was
one, that one.
Specifically to LGBTQ.
And we have that, we're working on getting that in. I believe that middle school and high school, we're reaching out to try to get it done tomorrow with a local group who's gonna come in and just do some sensitivity training, and then we'll work in, because we had the textbook adoptions For the 2 elementaries, we'll work those in on another date. It's about an hour-long training.
So the Keenans don't meet that requirement? Because it did speak on, I mean, it was new, I mean,
In a technical sense, they probably do, but we
Yeah,
just wanted to
just-
make sure our teachers had the tools that they needed to
Mhm.
support those students when they're in their classrooms as well.
gotcha.
Any other questions? Is everyone comfortable?
You're gonna ask for
Yeah,
public
is there any
comment?
public comment? Thank you.
There is no public comment.
Entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve item 10, Title 9, Special Packet Updates for Board Policies.
Is there a second?
Yes, yeah. Go ahead, Kathy.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Munoz?
Yes.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And Trustee Makala?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 10, 10.1, Board Policy Administrative Regulation Updates from CSBA for June 2024.
There were a lot. It's a new school year, so as you can always anticipate. Were there any questions about any of these?
I do like the red line. They're not here, but that I was able to. I mean, looks like there's some options, but I just the one that I really was looking at was that there was a superintendent change. Let's see, but I don't think that our contract is concise enough in that area that it didn't conflict. It was just stating that when we have a new board, that you can't, without consent, like if you wanted to get rid of a superintendent, you couldn't do it within that first 30 days of a new board for no cause. And then you also can't release a superintendent with no cause at a special or emergency meeting. But I thought we might have language in our contract that states specific something, but it doesn't, so it's not. I don't think we need to make an amendment.
So either
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
fall back on the policy once it
Right,
gets enacted, so.
right.
My only question was on the 4261-1, and I was just curious, there was an option there. And I wanted what other districts in our county might be doing. It's about this accrual of, it looks like we I don't know if we
Our current
modified it.
options are 2. Number 2.
It says
Are you
option one
under
is
leaves?
already-
Are you under leaves?
No, personal illness and injury leave.
Right.
It's 4261.1.
Page 11.
Yeah, on the summary.
4261.2.
So I'd say it's probably, it varies a good bit in talking to other districts. Some are on differential pay, and some do the 100 days of working paid sick leave with 50% or more of the salary. I don't know, Wendy, if you have any sense of,
What other districts are doing?
yeah,
Not really.
I just,
think that could get kind of expensive for us.
it's,
Now, is this up until the legal family leave is 12, or is this just forever? I mean, like.
so this is if someone is ill, then they get the differential pay, they would get that for 5 months, basically the 100 days, or we would have the
Oh, there
option
isn't
to.
an into it, okay.
Yes, yeah, so it's 100 days either way. It's the
Mm.
same amount of time that we're talking about, so it's whether it's a minimum of 50% of their salary, or, which is what it is in our, for our certificated, or do we just pay differential pay, which is the difference between what we pay as substitute and what the employee makes on their daily rate.
And then on the next part about the short term, the option 1, is this one all over the map too? About the accumulation of their sick leave? There's some red line here, but it's 80 hours.
48 to 80 hours.
For sure.
Right.
I think that most folks have stuck with option one that I am familiar with, only because that's sort of where the labor code started, was with the 30 hours, 1 hour for every 30 hours worked for your temporary employees, and that's pretty much where I think we've stayed with that as well, just because that's where the law originated, and that's just what was kind of what we had done. So.
I
Because
think that is fairly common.
yes, and the others get a little convoluted. So.
And then I thought there was one, this was different, but if you've had some sort of medical, like a loss, that you could use the state family leave and then your vacation, but then you could, 30 days out, you can come back and say you need time off for like a miscarriage or something. Does that have to be put into our agreements? Or is that, 'cause I thought I read
think
something about that
we
too.
honestly,
Never-
with our agreements, went and said, as reflected in state law.
Gotcha, so it's
So
clean.
it's
Okay,
clean, and
gotcha.
we just said-
So
and we
that's,
cited the California Family,
gotcha.
FMLA.
Yeah, FMLA.
it's FMLA and then the California version of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
CFRA.
CFR, thank you. I cannot remember the
It's getting late too.
So, yeah, we just, in our agreements, said we can't change that every time that it changes. Unfortunately, our policies can't just reference that way. So-
Right, be that specific. They aren't that
Yes.
specific, because everyone knows.
I was just looking up our differential after you've exhausted everything. A unit member is absent for a period of time that exceeds accumulated sick leave, the unit member shall, upon exhaustion of accumulated sick leave, be entitled to differential pay for up to 100 additional days. And
Yeah,
it
my
doesn't say
question-
anything about the 50%.
Okay.
That's,
And we
that's
think-
what's in our current contract.
Okay, so that has to match this, we can't look at what's, I was just curious if that's what was happening.
Well, that's
Um,
differential for 100 days.
Right.
And like I
So
said,
we can't
it's,
go against the contract, which now this will match, because
um,
board policy will match that.
right, board policy matching contract. And I think that they like for you to know that option 2 is there because that's what matches the, what's in the certificated, what is the law for certificated employees, so.
Okay.
I had written questions and I lost them on our gamut, and yeah, I didn't find them. I have the same question Kathy did.
And the athletic coaches, it looks like they have to have training, but I thought that was already happening with the AEDs.
Yes,
So that's not, I mean, we've been doing that,
yes.
so that's a non-issue.
Part of the, I think the
CPR.
CIF's been requiring that for
Right, I
some-
thought,
quite some time,
Mhm.
so.
I think it's part of the other training. So I think nothing else seemed out of the ordinary.
Anything else? Okay, so we'll bring this back.
Yes, that's first read, so.
Okay, moving on to 10.2, priority one mobile indicator.
All right, so we just had to bring back, sorry, I had this pulled up and then closed the tab. We just had to bring back because they didn't add the teacher monitoring outcomes data publicly until after we had to approve our local indicators in June.
Mm.
And so they asked that we bring this back, this information. To give you the broad numbers, as far as our total teaching FTEs, we have 97.1. We have 72% of our teachers have a clear credential. We have 6.3% who are considered out of field. So that means that there's probably a period or two that's considered a misassignment in some way. And this is the 22-23 data, by the way, so this isn't even
Current.
this last year. It's always a year in arrears here. We have 5% who are considered interns, 12% who are ineffective, which means they could be a first-year teacher and be considered ineffective even if they have a full degree and a preliminary credential. It's an interesting
Terminology.
terminology there.
is not.
And then there
Doesn't make
are
sense.
3.7% who are incomplete, which means that they're missing some piece of information, and 1% who are just unknown about the assignment. And those are probably classes that we code a certain way that they don't really go into anything, so like our advisory classes or things like that.
Mm.
Just sit out there in a weird way. So,
Mhm.
and then and I'll send you this link, I think it's static for this particular report. For DataQuest, you can see the comparisons to the county and the state. And I would say, as far as the county goes, we're pretty much in line across the board there. State, we're a little bit lower on our clear credential percentages, but that's not unusual for our more rural areas where we're trying to pull on people who are more local, because that's who's here. So.
Sorry, just go back here. Okay, item 10.3, MOU with Three Rivers Charter School.
All right, so I wanted to bring this forward to you just for a first read. As code came through, we got out of cycle with the MOU and the charter were approved at the same time. And if you remember, they kept extending. We don't have to renew the charter for, they added a year and then they added another year. And so while we would typically have heard and reviewed the charter through this last spring, we didn't, but we realized the MOU was out of compliance with that. So we're suggesting that we extend it for 2 years, and in 26, in the spring of 26, when they're doing their renewal, we'll reconsider the MOU at that point. There's no points of contention necessarily within it. It's been working well, and our relationship is pretty strong with them. So I don't anticipate it being anything that's of any kind of controversy there.
Right. So this MOU could just, this one could automatically extend after 3 years? That's built in, because there was language in there, or not?
We would remove that language just because I would want it to line up with the charter,
Right.
assuming, I mean, if everything is in 2 years as it is today, I don't anticipate any reason to recommend that the charter
Right,
not be approved.
because it's a big I mean, it is a big process, I guess, when it's brand new, because I remember going through that, and so you would have it either in line or definitely pause and make sure everything's in line. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
So you're recommending a whole new MOU or just extending this one
I think just extending and updating the dates on this one, basically,
for 2 more?
for 2 more years and taking it out to June 30th, 26. So.
Any more questions?
And we'll keep them on track with the reports and everything, so.
Okay, item 10.4, recommended update board policy 0415, equity. This is just a horizontal.
Yep, this is just the one that we continually bring forward.
I have copies if anybody wants.
And our
one.
next,
Sure.
we don't have a scheduled next session yet.
Thanks.
We do not.
been a
but I
minute
added a
since
slide
we've
in
had
to
that.
talk about that in
Yeah.
our future planning, so.
Okay.
This is the one that, well, let's see.
Okay, item 10.5 is FBUSD Board Trustees Goals Review. I just asked for this to be on the list in case we had any follow-up from our last workshop. I know that Joe's preparing all the back on some definitive.
Ways to measure and make sure that, and honestly, with a lot of these, I think measurements are built into our LCAP data reporting that we already do, so there's ways that we can just specifically talk to within these goals. We saw this as evidenced by these things, and so we'll work on pulling some of those pieces out. all except for the analyzing, monitoring, and publishing data in a clear and concise format. And I think we just point to the updated reports that you'll see this year. Those will be evidence for that as we're moving forward. The increased rigor through strong relationships and relevant coursework. I think those are things that we'll see as our master schedules evolve, and so we'll bring those forward. And we'll also see that with our student, parent, staff surveys, where we see all of those indicators hopefully going in the right direction. And our career readiness, I think that we're doing a pretty good job for the size school district that we are. When I look around at other school districts, and when I look around at the fact that the Coast Center probably, I don't know if they would be as successful as they were without our support and our support early on as they made that transition and everything over from College of the Redwoods. So I think we're doing a good job, and we'll continue to explore and expand as it makes sense, and look for those partnerships where we can. But I really want to see the college maybe take on a few more of those things, and then our students can push into those, as opposed to just don't have space. That's going to be our physical limitation, is we just don't have another classroom, especially while we've got these two big classes moving through. We're at max capacity. We were actually considering, are there ways that we could do something with this room? And I was like, no, let's not do that.
That'd be hard.
So,
Okay. This is kind of an ongoing work in progress, so.
it is, yeah. So if you have an aha moment about it, or something I can make this more clear, or share out in some way, let me know. So,
Thank you all for taking the time for that workshop as well.
yes.
Okay, moving on to 11.1, board reports. Anything to report? It's summer.
Started my Keenans.
Yeah, I'm 3/5 done.
Yeah.
And I actually came upon, I wish that the CSBA would have push out, but there are like legal briefs, and they have a new one on safety plans. So it came out in March, but here it is August, knew nothing about it. So but they do have kind of a new feature on the website that you can actually see, like I was able to listen to the updates for June. Like they have I guess maybe administrative assistants can go every Wednesday for, it's more for, I would think, more staff, because they're talking technical stuff about the gamut and whatnot, but you can listen to, at the end, snippets of them updating, what's involved in the policy about 50 minutes. And so it was kind of helpful to have that briefing. It was, no, it was on CSBA. It was, you can actually look up webinars and whatnot, and it's all there, like in their YouTube drive, kind of like. So I came upon that, so that was helpful. And I'm just wondering, I guess that's advanced planning, all these fires, how that's going to affect the budget, the state budget. And and I was surprised we didn't have any budget things this month, which I guess is a good thing. I guess we're solid.
Yep.
No revisions.
No
There
revisions.
wasn't anything significantly different enough to
Good.
warrant.
Oh, good, because I thought, whew, yeah, no windy reports. That's
Nope.
not this month. Okay. Thanks.
My shout out is I spent 6 days at the Ukiah Fair with Fort Bragg Unified School District, and I just wanted to just give a shout out to the kids. Our FFA chapter was not called out and lectured, so our kids were on their best behavior and did a great job. Fort Bragg was well represented in and out of the show ring, so I just want to give kudos to all those kids and their families and the advisors for getting them over there.
And handling that heat.
Yeah.
Coastal kids, that's
Yeah,
rough.
and animals.
And animals.
Yeah.
It's a hard time. But I did my Keenans, and then also while I was at the fair, I did turn in my election paperwork to run for my seat for the next round. That's my official.
Announcement.
Disclosure.
I started my Keenans, that was it.
I think the deadline's tomorrow to file for candidacy.
It is.
So anyone out there who's
You went out
thinking
there?
about it?
Yes.
Remember Ukiah.
Though knowing that that Mary's not going to run for her seat, it does actually extend the deadline for her particular seat to the 14th.
Just that one
Just that
2-year?
one seat.
The
Okay, the
4-year.
remainder, or the 4-year, sorry,
Four-year.
Yeah, just
remainder.
the one 4-year.
Because there's,
So you still have time,
'cause
everybody watching.
you applied for your seat, the
Or
4-year?
yeah, whatever that means,
Okay.
whether it's mine or Mary's.
Right, you,
A full
A4,
term.
A4,
Full term.
okay.
I don't really do all that for 2 years.
All right,
Gotcha.
so you have till August 14th to,
For the for the 4, another 4-year.
for the, all right, advanced planning.
Just trying to pull up the dates that were recommended from Nicole Anderson, and I can't seem to find what they shared with me. Go this way, try a different way.
It starts, it's called copy of. For some reason, I don't know.
And there's 3 workshops we're trying to do this year.
We are, yes. And we recommended leaving the third date maybe open right now, just simply because if we get new board members, we might want to change something at that point.
Mm.
She would like to do one in January with us, and then I was looking, I guess we could do September or October was what we were looking at there, so we had some flexibility to see. Is there a preference on a Saturday or after, after work? I don't know, it's pretty heavy work after work, I would think.
Yeah, I think
but
Saturdays are better,
I'd leave it to
probably.
the board.
I think Saturdays are best, but then I'm the only one that's not working. And I'm the one that's leaving the board, so there you go.
You still have an opinion?
I still have an
Honestly,
opinion.
with me at this point, it's with the dates.
It's about the dates,
Right.
It's
yeah.
about the dates,
Because
okay.
September's not good, right?
Right, we now have a surgery date, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, if we could just do a doodle.
Yeah,
We absolutely will.
because they're usually 3 hours, right? Because that's what makes
Yes,
it
about 3 hours.
challenging. Yeah.
And we will
It's all about the
also
time for me.
go ahead and doodle out some dates for our January workshop, where Nicole would like to be a part of that to help
Okay,
with our structures and those kind of pieces as well.
okay.
And then did we get the September one that we had to reschedule? Is that on the calendar?
On the website, there's a October 3rd, October 24th, and December 17th special, which I don't know what those are, just on our
Oh,
website. Yeah,
Board study group
yeah.
on the 3rd. But is that the one, I'm sorry, I
That's-
filled out the doodle and then I
So
don't know
you're
what
just trying to get
happened.
out,
The one from the 26th?
Yes,
That's the
that.
October 3rd.
3rd.
Yes,
Okay.
the October 3rd.
Got it.
So,
That's for the handbook.
What time is the October 3rd?
They're all 5:30, the
5:30.
specials.
5:30.
It's under the board,
Oh, yeah, they're on
The
here,
board
on the calendar.
And then
I was looking on the
October 24th.
website.
yeah,
where our
we
agendas are.
Was there as a, that's what we had talked about, is doing maybe the 2nd and 4th Thursdays. But because of October break, it ends up being the 3rd and 4th,
Mm.
because we have a meeting that week before. So,
It's written down.
and if we want to move any of these, that's
So our next one's October 3rd.
October 3rd would be the next,
special.
yes.
Fall break.
Our next meeting is
17.
September 12th.
I will be traveling back from Oceanside. I'm going to attending a conference for the city, so I'll
Okay.
do my darndest to get here by 6. And I haven't scheduled my flight yet, so I'll let you know as soon as I know.
So I'll just put maybe, just so we know. Yeah. Just might be
And
late.
what's our topic on the 3rd for the board study?
It says governance handbook.
Yeah, because we only touched on one item at the last
Yes.
workshop.
I was
There's
gonna say, I
like
think we have
12.
to- We can go back to our last
Everything,
agenda.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just
and
cross off
take a
whatever
look
one.
and kind of
Yeah.
use that as a guide for some of the next places we want to go, because.
It was a pretty chunky
Yes,
agenda.
we, I think we were overly ambitious in setting that agenda, but it was nice to.
Lay it
to
out.
Lay it out.
Well, we went deep, so that was good.
Yes.
And then we do have one on October 24th, which is titled district curriculum, but you're saying that's just a placeholder.
Yes, we can change that around if we would like to at this point. I haven't set anyone to come to that, so it's entirely at the board's purview at this point, so.
Did you want to announce that community group for the equity work that you're forming?
Oh, yes, so yes, we do have some folks out there. We will have some opportunities. We're going to form an equity committee for the district, so if there are folks interested in serving on that, we will have that forming, and they'll meet about 7 times throughout the year, a couple hours each. The first 1 or 2 will probably be trying to meet with administrators and whatnot, just to set what the function and the structure of the committee will look like, so that it's not just complete chaos on that first day. We also will have the opportunity to have some equity listening sessions with both our students and our community. So if you can't commit to the committee, we will also have those. Those dates will be set probably for around January to February. I was supposed to meet with Nicole Anderson yesterday. She had an emergency that pulled her away, so I wasn't able to get exact dates on some of those pieces as we were working. So.
And how are you bringing that committee together? Just people contacting you?
Yes, so when I was around the staff meetings today, I mentioned to all of them, I'll put it in our staff blog again. As I reach out and connect with students, I'll also make sure that they're aware that that's the opportunity, and we'll put something out for parents as well if they're interested to reach out. I know I've already had several parents who have expressed an interest through some of the LCAP work and some of the other pieces that we've got going on. So.
Great.
So I misspoke. The safety plan brief came out in July. So I'm going to pass it over to Scott and Kathy. You guys can fight over it because I only brought 1 copy since you're on the safety committee. But I thought it was new, relevant, and they don't push it out. You have to fall on it.
You printed that from the website?
Yes.
I'll add that to my list.
We need also schedule boardwalks this school year.
Yes, we will schedule those. I thought we had a few
I
dates
saw
that.
something.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in the
I already-
works.
Well, I signed up on it.
I
You
did
did.
too.
I
Yeah.
know.
But I do those things and then I just forget.
That's why I printed it out,
It's
like
on
dates.
the calendar, I'm-
Well, and then I
We'll
kind
go
of,
back.
well, I kept delaying because I felt like I was picking a date that might, like if you're on the board, you may want an earlier date. You know, like maybe I'm taking a spot. Yeah, your spot.
Oh, I
because-
did. I remember
because-
doing this. I didn't print
So
it out. I
I-
have no idea what I wrote.
Right.
Every site has 2 dates, and some of the dates have already changed.
Oh, okay,
last,
I haven't
like,
looked.
The Redwood
So maybe
and
once they
Dana
get
Gray
firmed
dates.
up, maybe
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then I'll send out
Send it
some
out again.
email-
Okay.
Email or
'Cause I'm pretty
calendar invites to all of
yeah,
you, so you know which dates you're definitely
Okay, so I'm
going.
pretty flexible. It was hard for me to choose, but
As long as I have
2,
ahead of time or
Yeah.
beforehand.
right,
Yeah, just tell me when you want to go.
okay.
Before January for me.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
exactly.
well, after that, you can just come anytime. you want.
That's right. I can join and I can.
You can join,
Anytime.
you can join the group anytime.
You won't make that quorum.
No.
Is there any other thing that any board members have for the coming school year that you want to put on a calendar?
Don't have.
One of my sticky notes, which I want to
Curriculum.
research our board policy and whatnot, is the curriculum approval, because, I would like to see what the policy is and maybe tighten up that.
It is quite intensive, and there was that webinar, and I've been on the board, I think, going on 8 years, and I learned stuff. It's kind of, so we definitely take a little scratching of best practices, so it would be nice to have, it's a good point, because it's a good opportunity to interact with your community, and we fail there, because it's all kind of, it's there, but there's nothing pushed out, and it's something that, there could be more push out so that you have, so people know what's happening, what the curriculum looks like, and we kind of just check the box.
Right.
So you can really get into it, but it takes manpower.
So can we add that specifically to the October 3rd workshop?
Well, and I'll try to do some digging so that,
Because our policy is not terrible, but it
well, and I also want to try to get the rubric together, because it
Yes,
seems like
There's-
sites do different stuff, and then if we had a rubric attached to a policy, and then that was what came to us.
Because the state, it has, it's one of those that you keep clicking and you keep clicking, and you're like, what am I looking at? Because there's so much information on it. So I could see how you tighten it, or you leave it very brief, but it kind of made my head spin a little bit, because there's a lot of information. They have handbooks, so it's all there.
Yeah,
So it's almost too much. They're not really helping us by giving us 371 pages.
No.
They really need
Maybe
to,
it's better to go look at other schools.
yes,
websites
yes.
instead of-
That's
But
what
some
I'm
of them
saying,
just
like,
adopt
reach
that.
out- Kind
Yeah.
of reach out to within the county and through other counties too, and see kind of what they have in place there.
And I know there was trying to get some organization to get some of the different boards together throughout the county, and they were canceled. And you heard
Yes,
anything more about
so I haven't had my first superintendent's meeting this year, and I missed the last one last year because I was on jury duty. So, so I'm not exactly sure where they're at in that for this year. I haven't seen anything come out, but if I do, I'll send it out to you, just so you know. So I think there's still a push, but they have continued to reorganize it, Mendocino County Office of Ed, so
that? We'll see.
we'll see.
Anything else?
Are we on to number 3?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to let people know, even though it's last minute, Connie, Bella, and I are gonna go up to Alt Ed this weekend, Saturday, I believe, and watch the outside of the windows, because they're pretty bad, and pull the weeds in the quad, and just kind of spruce things up a little bit, because they don't have a regular custodian all the time, and they don't have, it just doesn't, it's looking a little sad. So if anybody wants to join, I can send out what time we're going.
I'm going to be gone this weekend. Otherwise, I'd be there.
Anyway, oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention, just because I know I'll probably forget, and it's way, way early, but Frey's graduating in June.
Oh, wow.
So-
Senior.
And I know he's not going to stick around for Bragg and yeah, probably not California. So,
He laughs.
anyway, just wanted to know, need to start thinking.
I'll start thinking.
Oh, good, yeah, because we'll want you to train someone, yeah.
Thanks for the heads up.
That's it. Oh, do we want to look at our,
Yeah, so looking at all these, I don't know if it makes sense to send a parent square out of all the back to school nights. I know each site does their own thing supposedly, but just something you guys consider maybe.
I know each site does send the dates out, but maybe we can send trying to think of how we can get it into one document so it actually gets translated as it goes out. Because it's always, if it's an attachment, it either has to be translated or we get it in. So we'll work on how we can
Let's see that.
get that in one place, because yeah, we have parents who might be able to print this out and have, here's everything in one place, as opposed to, well, let me look at my parent square from Dana Gray and my parent square from
Right,
the
that's
high
true.
school.
It's
See.
cumbersome.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, Reavers meeting on the 20th?
I know that's supposed to be me. I'm going to have to attend virtually, but I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm babysitting, I'm dog sitting.
Oh.
I can't. 3 dogs, I'm not, no. I'll do it virtual, unless somebody else wants to go.
I'll be there in person. I just want to see their construction updates and things, so.
Yeah.
They just had a retreat and it was very successful.
Oh, nice. Very good.
That's the back to school week.
They're looking for a board member, so not obviously anyone of us, but anyone who's listening out there, they are looking for a committee board member. So, okay, anything else?
We should welcome Jamie Weeks. She's her
Maine.
first meeting
Maine.
week. Oh,
Maine.
Maine?
Jamie Maine.
Jamie May.
Jamie Maine. Why I think your last name was Weeks. Who knows? But welcome. Thanks for attending the first meeting.
Because she's been here for weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks and weeks, yes.
Yes, hopefully the transition is going okay.
Amazing.
Great. All right, well, I guess with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.